Yo, what up? Toshi here. Welcome to a brand new video for Kaiju number 8, the game. Now, in today's video, we're going to be going through pretty much what I did leading up to the point in progress for my account. So I am officially hit the mid-game, you could call it. So I'll be doing a beginner's guide-esque type of video today. Just going over everything I did leading to this point in the game of my progression. I'm currently level 22 for the I want to call it most likely is the end-game contents at the point now where I need to build 2 teams in order to complete the content in itself. And my characters hit pretty darn hard, which I'll probably cover in a different video because I do want to talk about Reno Ichikawa in a different video, his own video, because I think he is a very overtuned DPS, which makes a lot of sense because he's on the own banner rate up character, right? So obviously. Now, in this video, I will be going over everything I did, right? I will be giving tips. I will also be telling you a little bit of stuff about what I should not have did and how you can prevent any issues that may arise in the future that I may have, stumble upon. Let's hop into it. That was a very long intro. I did not need to say that like 3 times over and over again. Guys, by the way, I love this background. You actually get this background by doing the side story for Kikoru Shinomiya. So you do the side story, you do the all the way to the end, and then you get this nice background with Kikoru and Sagan. The very first thing is going to be the actual reroll itself. This is super important. I know for those of you that are not keen on rerolling, this is something that you probably don't want to waste your time doing or spend your time doing rather. So if that's you, then just go ahead and skip this part. I may even just timestamp it for your benefits. But for those of you that are looking to have the best start possible to your account in general, I cannot recommend enough rerolling. Rerolling is super important. It gives you a head start, and it saves you the headache of having to roll for the unbanned character later, because in this game, as I've mentioned in the previous videos, I've hit on it home many times, the pity for said character is 250 pulls on the banner. And for the weapon for said character is 150 additional pulls. So you need a total of 400 pulls on the banner to get the character and the character's weapon. That is assuming you don't get the character and or the weapon leading up to the actual hard pity, which is 250 right for the character, or 150 for the weapon, depending on which one you're missing. But if you're able to get both Reno and his weapon, or at least get Reno and trying to snipe his weapon along the way, you're going to be in for a good time. Your progression is going to be smooth sailing, and you'll have one of the more rare characters to obtain in the game without having to worry about obtaining this character later, and then you can save your exchange pity for a future character. Now, I will also mention too that as of right now, I've done 13 pulls on the banner, but if you look at the amount of pulls I have in my possession, I only have 50 pulls in terms of gems. And I only have 5 pulls in terms of tickets. That means in total, I have about 68 pulls. 68 pulls, and I've reached mid-game. Now, I'm not trying to deter you from, playing this game, but knowing that I need 180 more to reach the pity is honestly very demoralizing. I'm going to be honest. So, if you want to save yourself the headache, I cannot stress enough rerolling. It may take quite a bit of time, I'll be honest. I only got 1 account with Reno, but I've gotten Reno's weapon like multiple times because getting weapons in this game is a higher percent chance, although I did have bad luck. Another thing too is that just in general, you'll find yourself getting a ton of standard weapons versus getting the on-rate banner character or the on-rate banner weapon. It's a whole process, but yeah, if you are very keen on having the best start possible and avoiding this RNG in the short term, I suggest you do this, but if not, it's totally fine. Now we have the standard banner. Very important, do not use your selector. Save, unless you really want a character right away, then use it. But if you aren't keen on having a nice spread, a nice roster of characters for your account in the long term, then you should save your selector for the future for a character you are missing from your account. Currently, I only own Kikoru Shinomiya. Now, I haven't pulled on this banner after the beginner pools, so maybe I can get another character who even knows. but I am most likely going to save my selector until I have about, I want to say 5 out of the, it is 8 characters here, or 7 characters. Once I have 5 out of the 7 characters, then I'll probably look to using my selector, because the chance of me getting the character I'm missing from this banner is going to be very slim to none, right? And furthermore, you could actually exchange for the character later in the exchange shop. So if you are missing a particular character, you can just summon for them at some point with the pity you built up on this banner. They do give out quite, compared to the limited banner pools, they do give out quite a bit of standard banner pools, not including the amount of gems you have. Don't convert your gems to standard banner pools unless, don't do it. But yeah, save your selector for the long term unless you're very keen on having a character right here, right now. Now that sums up the gacha. What about character progression? What about weapons? It's very important. Now, my account, I ended up getting the 5-star weapon for Reno, but if I didn't have the 5-star weapon, I was just going to use a 5-star AR. Now, the thing is about Reno, he is a character you want to use your skill on constantly. So I would be looking for a weapon that increases the character's combat skill damage dealt right here. So in the form of the 4-star, I have AR Narwhal. This would be the best second option for the character, because since he is skill damage focused, you would want to make sure that you maximize the amount of damage outputs for his skill ability with the damage boost you get from the passive of this weapon if you don't have the signature. And the attack percentage you get is very nice for increasing his overall damage. It sucks you don't get crit rate main, which makes his damage honestly a lot less, because critting is pretty important in this game. It's fine because later on you'll be able to get a crit rate main chest, which is going to give you more crit rate and allow you to dish out more damage. So it will circumvent some of the non-existent stats you'll have on the character. But when you get to that point, which we'll talk about later in this video, then you'll be able to, maximize the amount of damage output based on the stats available to you. I also ended up having another character in the form of Kikoru Shinomiya, who is the 5-star standard banner character. So I decided to build her, and she is a very solid single target. They call it slash damage in this game. Slash damage, I think of it like normal damage. So slash damage attack character. And she's pretty good. She has blast on her kit. She has single target. She has defense down. She hits pretty darn hard. If I didn't have Reno, this would be my best damage dealer on the accounts. It makes a lot of sense. She's 5-star. So her base stats are higher. So she gets more value from damage amps, right? Versus a 4-star character. Now, the thing is about Kikoru Shinomiya, she takes a different weapon from Reno. So I didn't luck out and have very many weapons I could use on the character. The only weapon I could use was the AX Mantis. This weapon sucks, if I'm being honest, because the only time she gets a damage dealt increase is when you core expose the Kaiju, which isn't something that happens, permanently. Like, you're permanently, for Reno with the 4-star weapon, getting a skill damage dealt increase. That's not something that you're going to be permanently getting for the character, because the enemy will not always be core broken, if that makes sense. But that's not the worst thing ever. It still does give nice stats compared to the 3-star alternatives in the game. We don't even talk about it. And it is a nice placeholder until you're able to get a better weapon in the future, which we'll talk about this in a different video. But TLDR, you'll be able to get a 5-star weapon for free, which you can then use that weapon or get the weapon for the character, standard banner character that you have on your account to, of course, give them their signature so that they can maximize their damage output if they are a DPS character at that. Now let's talk about skills. The skill priority for me has always been what is the most damage output on the character in terms of abilities. Now, for Reno, that is going to be your skill, and that is going to be your passive, ultimate, and follow-up attack can be kind of just pushed back some. You don't necessarily have to invest into the follow-up attack, because I've found there to be a little bit of RNG with it. So I've always just decided to just throw it in there anyways, because, it's better than putting it into the normal attack, because the normal attack is something you'll never do in the character. If you do that as a massive damage loss, we're talking like, just look at the multiplier for the skill-based damage. And look at the multiplier for the single target normal attack. Absolutely horrible. So you never use the normal attack on this character. It's a massive DPS loss. So investing into the skill, the ultimate, the passive, and then the follow-up attack is going to yield you the best results on the character and not waste as many resources. If I'd known what I know now, I would not have invested anything into the character's normal attack, and I probably would have put off investing into the character's follow-up attack skill. Instead, I could have used those resources into either another character that was an attacker that I could build towards a second team, or more of the same skill for the character that he gets the most value out of. That is the one mistake I made on my account, but it's said and done, so I can't do anything about it. I'm just telling you so that you can prevent it for the future of your account. Now, you get Mina for free, and she is an amazing character. I actually really, really like this character, and you'll grow to like this character as well, because this character gives you a ton of damage. She gives you attack, she gives you damage amp. She is a very nice single target support buffer, offensive buffer character. Very, very nice. She doesn't give you like any additional turn, anything like that, but she gives you very solid buffs. She also does deal quite a bit of damage with her ultimates, but aside from that, she's not necessarily a damage dealer. She's just a supporter character, and a very good one at that. I mean, we're talking damage deal, combat skill, damage deal increase, and this is for 3 turns, mind you. So you just only use it once, and then you could use basic attacks. So then she becomes a skill point positive character for the team comp. Even when you use her normal attack on a character, which promotes a skill point positive playstyle, you apply attack percent increase to her and the ally with the buff she applies with the skill. So you're getting a massive attack increase, and you are getting a nice damage and combat skill damage deal increase. So again, if I was to prioritize anything on the character, it would only be the combat skill and the passive skill. You do not have to invest into the character's ultimate, the character's follow-up attack skill, and the character's normal attack. You don't have to invest into any of these. I would just invest into the combat skill and the passive skill. Of course, if you want to save as many resources as possible. And for the weapon I opted for on this character, it was going to be AR Panther because it's the only weapon I have on the account that would be valuable for the character. But whenever she uses her ultimate, she gives a damage deal increase to all allies, which just means more damage in general for the team comp. So it's just a win-win. Now, you don't permanently get the, damage deal increase because you're not ulting every rotation on the character, which is fine. It does give you a nice amount of effect resistance, which she does have effect resistance already in her kits. It will be hard to debuff the character. So realistically, she's always going to give a skill point every time she takes her turn, which is very nice. And I just recently built Akari Manase. The reason I built Akari Manase is because I needed a supporter character, a defender, a healer, a sustained character for my team comp, because content started to get a lot harder. She's very nice. Now, I don't remember us getting this character for free, so there is a little bit of RNG whether or not you're going to get this character from the banner. Okay, so realistically, you're probably going to want to get Akari Manase as soon as possible, because she seems to be the only sustained character we have in the form of the 4-star on the banner. Now, I haven't taken a look at all the 5-star characters in the game, so maybe there's a standard 5-star character that does sustain the team. I wouldn't be surprised. It makes the most sense. But Akari Manase is a 4-star, so there is a chance you can luck out and get her versus a 5-star character, but that's also a part of the reason maybe you want to select a 5-star character to sustain. We'll make a whole different video on the 5-star selector later on when it comes to that point. But yeah, this character is extremely valuable. So if you have her, you should build her. She will do you wonders in the in-game contents. So that's pretty much the characters I've obtained, the characters I built. And now I got to start working on a second team. I nearly forgot to talk about gear. So unit parts is your gear system in this game. Now, what's very important about gear, I wouldn't recommend farming it early. You'll farm it later on. They give you a bunch of resources to make your gear as you play through the game to the mid game, and then you're going to have to farm for the gear on your own. This is going to be your in-game content, right? Farming gear. Now, what I will mention is that the gear, and depending on what, getting the stat you want is RNG. Now for Reno, I lucked out and got attack percent, crit damage, and ice damage dealt, which is everything the character needs. But you can see for my Kikoru, I wasn't that lucky. I got defense, I got crit rate, and I got slash damage dealt, but it's 3-star boots. So the damage dealt isn't as high as it could have been. So there is a lot of RNG when it comes to, selecting not only your main stat, but the percentage attached to the main stat as well. And to develop it, you just need these little resources right here. The resource you're going to be want to look out for is the purple ones, which have a chance of giving you the legendary, the 5-star, and then you get the 4-star by default. Don't sleep on the 4-star though. It does give you quite a bit of a substantial boost in stats. And this is where I mentioned Reno being able to take advantage of the crit rate main. If you are a player that does not have his signature weapon, you would want to opt for a crit rate main instead of a crit damage main. I'm using crit damage main because I have his signature weapon. But if you do not have his signature weapon, you want to opt for a crit rate main so you can maximize your damage output given your crit ratio. And then, of course, depending on the character, you want to make sure that you match the element typing of the character with the element damage dealt boost that you get from the boots. So for Reno, he's ice. For Kikoru, she is physical, or slash. And then so on and so forth, you get the gist. And that's pretty much where I'm at in the mid game. But as for everything else, I've already leveled up my weapons. My characters are good to go. I've worked on my character skills, skill prioritization, so I could save the best amount of resources I can possible. So what does that mean for me in general? Now, there is one more thing to take into consideration about just in terms of beginner progression. So in the left here, we have the beginner's guide. This is going to give you a step-by-step process of what the game recommends you to do, and is going to give you resources along the way of doing it. Now, what's very important about this is that it gives you not only quite a bit of pulls, it also gives you a lot of credits, and it gives you a lot of XP books. You're going to be needing all these, when I say all these resources, you're going to be needing all these resources to, of course, level up your characters, upgrade your gear, and all of that jazz. It took all these resources just to get my characters to the level they are, and the weapons to the level that the weapons are. And I still need more resources. So it's in your best interest to do this as soon as you can because it's free resources. Of course, don't overexert your resources if you are trying to get this done. It's not the end of the world. It's permanently here, so there is no rush to do it. But it is a nice streamlined step-by-step process that does reward you along the way, which I found very beneficial. And one more thing I want to mention with resources in general, this is very important. So the credit shop. This shop right here is going to be your best friend. I've bought so many things. You can see it's sold out here. I bought so many different things from this shop, and it has allowed me to progress my characters, their weapons, tenfold. This shop is extremely valuable in the early game because it gives you a lot of resources without having to waste your energy, your stamina on the domains that give these resources. So, very important. Just claim buy the resources as you need them, right? As you see fit. Don't overdo it, but do take advantage of this shop because it will save you a lot of energy in the early game. I cannot stress this enough. This is a very valuable shop. I probably will be buying this Defender enhancement material because I actually do need to start leveling up the skills of Akari and Manase, right? There is an expedition. I consider this a daily reward. It's like an AFK sort of thing. It's present in every AFK game. It's present in Nikke Goddess Victory. It was present in Madoka Magica Magic Zedra, and it'll be present in future games, of course. This gives you free energy, and it gives you credits for just simply having an account, right? It replenishes over time. Do not use, in my opinion, do not use the quick claim. It uses your premium currency to then acquire more resources. I wouldn't recommend doing this because the premium currency, as I understand right now, is pretty hard to come across. You're not given this they're not just throwing out currency all over for you to collect. Just be careful using your premium currency on refreshes. I consider this a refresh a stamina refresh at that. If you want to do it, knock yourself out, I'm going to save my resources. I don't recommend doing it though. Why did my screen black out? I don't recommend doing it though, personally. Last but not least, let's talk about the story. I've completed all of these story chapters. So this lets me know I'm already at the mid game, right? Pretty much. I've done the first memory. I could do the second memory. This is pretty much the retelling of story bits from Kaiju number 8, season 1, and maybe season 2. I haven't seen what is after -21, so I don't know. But yeah, this is retelling of story bits from Kaiju number 8, the anime. And then you also have the character stories. Now, these stories right here, you actually don't have to fight or do anything. So if you are reluctant on doing this because, you believe that you're going to have to, sit here and tap it one by one, or you have to wait for the fight to clear if you're playing an auto, you don't have to fight. It's just story bits. You can skip through the story. It takes like 5 seconds to do all 3 episodes for each character. So do it. It gives you a ton of resources. You get a bunch of gems, and you also get a bunch of player XP and a bunch of credit, which will help with progressing your account. Last thing I will mention too about the player XP and just account progression in general, leveling up your account does not refresh your energy. So other games like Madoka Magica Magic Zedra is the most recent game I can compare this to. Whenever you reach a new player rank, your stamina would refresh alongside you leveling up. So that's how you were able to play pretty much 24/7 in the beginning, because your energy kept refreshing as you kept leveling up. So you would have so much energy built up, and it would become this, back and forth domino effect, right? Where you're constantly leveling up because you're constantly pooling so much energy after leveling up. This game doesn't have that sort of feature. You don't get energy after leveling up your account to the next level. Or you can use your premium currency to refresh your energy, which I don't recommend. But if you want to do that to progress your account faster and knock yourself out, the game does also give you stamina pots, and you can buy some of these stamina pots from the shop using different types of currencies. They call it the stamina jelly. I have not used my stamina jelly yet, but I don't see why you can't use it. Why not? It's not like it's going to be as useful as it is right now in the late game for your account. The reason I'm saving it is because a potential future character that releases, and I need to build that character right away for content. That's the only reason why I would personally save this. But if you want to progress your account faster, then use it. I don't see why there is an issue with using it ASAP. And last but not least, team composition. Now, team composition is not that important in this game in the beginning to the mid game. I mean, then again, I am using Reno, so he is pretty darn strong. So I'm just steamrolling the content in general. But I think for the most part, as long as you have Mina built, right, to buff up your damage dealer, as long as you have a supporter to keep your team sustained and healthy, and as long as you have a very powerful damage dealer, it doesn't matter if it's Reno, and it doesn't matter if it's Kakoru. If you have a powerful damage dealer, they will carry you through the game. And they will carry you to the end game, but you're going to need 2 teams. So that's where you'll have to build your second team for the end game contents, and that's where the team building will actually matter. But we'll talk about this later on when we talk more about the combat system itself and what characters you should be building depending on the fight you are walking into. Again, that is a video for a separate time. It's just way too much to talk about, and this video is already long enough as is. But that's it. That's the video here. Hopefully you got something out of this. I try to make this as informative as possible, and I gave my thought process as I've been progressing this is literally everything I've done to a T, minus me being more efficient with my skill ups, right? I could have used the skill ups a lot more efficiently and not have wasted so many skill ups on abilities for characters that didn't need the abilities to be leveled up. Like, for instance, a normal attack for a supporter character, or a normal attack for a character that is going to be using their skill every single turn, so a DPS character. It makes no sense to waste resources on those skills, but I did anyways, and I'm telling you to not make that mistake. But yeah, that's it. That's the video here. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.